Please rise in body or spirit to sing our gathering song, Gather the Spirit. This hymn was composed by UU troubadour and former member of the Paul Winter Consort, Jim Scott of Shrewsbury, Mass. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion, and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion, and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun, gather to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion, and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
Oh, can we say thank you to Julie? That was beautiful. Well, good morning and welcome. Welcome to Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Rose Rydell. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve as one of your ministers. We are so glad you are here. If you are here in our sanctuary, out on the patio, or in Borton Hall, or online, hi. A special welcome if you are visiting us for the first time, or if you're back on campus for the first time in a while. Please sign a visitor card so we know how to reach you. And please join Marina and myself directly after the service at noon today on the playground for a playground blessing. Come join us to bid a fond farewell and bless a new beginning for our children's playground. The playground project will begin on August 4th and will continue through August 14th. And as a reminder, starting tomorrow, we will have a hiatus week for the ministers and staff. So we will not be having service on August 3rd, next Sunday. No service. Welcome to this beloved community. We're so glad you're here.
Good morning. In a world that often feels divided, we gather here as people seeking connection, meaning, and hope. I'm Mary Kelly Persine, a member of your board of trustees with pronouns she, her, and I'm thrilled that you've chosen to connect with us this morning. I invite you to take a moment to think about what brought you here today. What are you seeking or hoping to find? We begin our time together by reading our mission statement. Up on the screen. We bring to life our Unitarian Universalist values as we seek truth and work for justice, nurture compassion and courage, reach out to each other and to our larger community of faith, bridge the divisions that wound the human family, transform ourselves and our world. Community isn't something that just happens after coffee, it's woven into everything that we do. Picture yourself joining a book discussion where ideas spark new thinking, volunteering alongside others for causes that matter to you, or simply find that one person who truly gets your perspective. Whether you connect in Borton Hall after service, join our online coffee hour, or explore the dozens of ways to engage with us, your place in this community is waiting for you. We know that people need community these days. Sunday is just the beginning, and as our pictures at the beginning of this service show, there are many, many ways to gather and connect here. Your weekly email, our Beacon newsletter, and our online calendar are great ways to track all the opportunities and find your home in this community. Welcome. It's good to be together.
And now is the time we take a few moments to greet one another. And as today's theme is on the spiritual practice of gardening, I invite you to remind each other that you are the flowers in each other's gardens. So say hello, folks.
rising sun. We are the change. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun. We are the change. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun. We are the change. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun. Thank you.
We light our chalice this morning with these words by Jennifer McLaughlin. As the first hint of green begins to peek through the barren ground, as that little sprig grows into a healthy stem, as that stem grows into a stalk and forms a bud, as that bud slowly opens with each new day to form a yellow daffodil. Let us be like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays and ready to emerge with a new energy, ready to face the day. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our space.
All right, good morning. I'd like to invite those who are young and young at heart to come forward if you haven't already done so. And then we today are going to honor our teachers. So if you're a teacher in the congregation, we're going to call you up too. And so, speaking of, look at all these boxes full of supplies for teachers.
Every single box of supplies here is going on an amazing adventure this year. An adventure of learning new things, growing bigger and stronger, and discovering just how awesome you are.
And we have some special pins for our kiddos who are getting ready to head back to school in early August. They have our church's logo on them and some important words. Carry love and compassion with every step you take. So if you would like a pin, you can grab one from Rose. And we encourage you to put them on your backpacks or your lunch bags or something that you bring with you to school every day. And if you're a grown-up going to school and you want a pin for your backpack or your briefcase, we've got lots more up here.
You know what's really cool about our religion? We believe that everyone, not just the ministers, has something special inside them that allows all of us to share love with others. That means you can share love and kindness too.
We believe that all people have goodness inside of them and are worthy of love. And you know what? You can pass that goodness to other people by being kind and being caring.
So, we want to ask everyone here, and everyone watching online too, to help us make these pins extra special by sending our hopes and wishes for your school year from our hearts to these pins, so that when you have your pin and your day is going kind of bad, you can remember all of these people sending you love that can make you strong and get through it.
And if you want to, you can look at that basket of pins and raise your hand up high, or you can think good thoughts. So if you didn't get a pin and you want a pin, raise your hand up high. We'll come around and I see a couple hands. Okay, let me have a team. Forrest, will you give out pins to people who have their hands raised up high that want a pin? And then I also want to invite the kiddos to turn to a grown-up or a grown-up-like figure near you and have them help you put the pin on your clothing so we don't lose it for the rest of the day while we're at church.
Okay.
I was ad-libbing here. So that as soon as they have pins.
All right. So when you're ready, we want you to say out loud all of the good things that you hope will happen for students and teachers this year. And if you're watching online, you can type your wishes into the chat. All right, so are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, you can do it.
Lots of joy.
Joy, love,
I heard
happiness.
snacks. I heard love. I heard hope. I heard recess. Yes, libraries. Wow, listen to all of those wonderful blessings and wishes.
You know, with all of these amazing blessings, the ones we heard and the ones that were thought quietly in our hearts, we're sending our students and teachers into the new school year knowing that they are surrounded by so much love and support.
Awesome. And then I'm going to read out the names of folks who are getting ready to head back to school to teach or work in education in some capacity. And if I would invite you to come grab your box if you're here. Rosie Reed, Jeff Hagerstrand, Casey Gardner, Jennifer Blackman, Ronan Braun, Nasa Matt, and let me go over to this side, Ann Rosekrantz, Meg Richardson, Benjamin Barr Wilson, and Shelley Kreiderman. Can we give our educators a big round of applause? And now I'd like to invite you to join us in singing the children and youth to their activities.
As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go.
My name is Ives Humphreys. My pronouns are he and him, and I am grateful to serve as your worship associate today. What brought us all together today? Did you come to connect with each other? Besides connection, I find this to be a time to reflect and honor the sacred in everyday life. In my everyday life, I start each morning with a drive to work in Martinez, where I work as a park ranger at John Muir National Historic Site. I drive, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your support. I drive along bustling highways and clogged avenues within Alhambra Valley, but the oasis I lock eyes on as I cross the concrete jungle is our native plant garden at our visitor center. What a stark contrast there is between a chaotic intersection in rush hour and just a few feet away, the stillness of a butterfly warming its wings. Native bumblebees burrowing into purple sage blooms, Anna's hummingbirds levitating, drinking from red penstemon. The hummingbird beaming iridescent green. What a marvel! Even the smallest patch of garden can hum with sacred life. I touch the milkweed leaves. They feel as soft and velvety as puppy ears. I see the ants in the flowers busy at work. Did you know ants can lift over 20 times their body weight? You may think this is not impressive, but when was the last time you lifted a car? I cannot take credit for this masterpiece of a garden. Not at all. The gardeners that collaborated on this masterpiece are all volunteers. Some are highly educated master gardeners. Other nonprofits chip in, including the Native Plant Society and the Penstemon Society. Gardening is not about the effort of a rugged individual. It is about partnership. We are not masters of the earth, but caretakers, collaborators. The volunteers come on Mondays when I don't work, so I don't know many of them, but I respect their hard work through stewardship and helping educate visitors. I pick up trash, I help people identify plants. When children try to grab the many western fence lizards, I say, please don't. Let wild animals stay wild. If you rip off its tail, it might not have enough fat stored for the winter and die. And did you know that the western fence lizard can kill Lyme disease in ticks? Miracle workers. As a ranger, one thing I am pleased to facilitate with visitors is mindfulness and forest bathing. Now keep your clothes on. Forest bathing is a Japanese tradition to bathe in the beauty and peace of nature, to walk gently and tune into your senses. Visitors can learn to observe and understand the web of life that we depend upon. I encourage visitors to appreciate and protect our native plant relatives, because what is stewardship if not love made visible? As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm our respect for the interdependent web of all existence. A garden makes this web visible, tangible, and wondrous. Do you not have a green thumb, you say? We all tend gardens, some with soil and seeds, others with kindness, courage, or care. The earth is calling us to be gardeners of justice, healing, and hope. As we gather today, let us ask, what garden are you tending? What life do we nurture? What might we want to remove? What do we protect? Come, let us worship as those who marvel at bees in a blossom, as those who believe beauty is sacred, as those who know the work of our hands can heal. May we bring our whole selves to this moment, rooted in love, open to growth, ready to tend the garden of our lives together. Thank you.
And now, please rise in body or spirit to sing, May I Be Filled with Loving Kindness. This setting of the Metta Sutra, a foundational meditation attributed to the Buddha, was adapted by Mark Hayes and set to music by Ian Riddell in 2001. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole.
Friends, now is the time in our service when we take into the heart of this community those joys and sorrows which are too great to hold alone. If there is anyone who is written in the book of joys and sorrows who would like to light their own candle, you may come forward at this time. I would first ask Ives to light a candle in sorrow and solidarity with all of those who are being inhumanely detained in facilities and concentration camps in our country and around the world. Next, I would ask Ives to please light a candle on my behalf, a candle of sorrow and remembrance for my dear friend, Everardo Aguilar, who passed away this past week while waiting for a heart transplant. Thank you. And Debbie would like to come up and light a candle of joy. Debbie's 6th grandchild was born last Monday, 8 pounds, 6 ounces. Welcome to Claire Naomi Tan Rainers. Welcome to the world. And now I would ask Ives to light 2 final candles. One, to hold those joys and sorrows which were not expressed in words, and one, to hold our concerns for the world.
And now, please remain seated for our meditation song, I Know This Rose Will Open. The words and tune of this hymn were written by Mary E. Gregolia, a Unitarian Universalist minister. We're going to sing this through once together, and then we're going to sing it through twice more as a round. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. This will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Now we invite you into a time of quiet reflection. It is a time together where we get to experience the power of collective focus. I invite you to bring your attention to the screen in front of you. In a few moments, we will be going on a short journey through a time-lapse video of the life of a sunflower. Take a breath that feels right for your body. Notice how your body is supported by your chair, the floor beneath you. You are held here. Let yourself arrive in this moment just as you are, without need to change anything. On the screen, you see a small seed. dark and quiet and rich earth. Like this seed, parts of us rest in the embrace of the earth. Uncertainty all around us. It is a place that holds all of our potential that we cannot yet imagine. Bring to your mind some dreams, hopes, or potential that might be waiting patiently within you, even in this season of uncertainty. Now notice the first tender shoot reaching toward the light. In our lives too, growth often begins small and uncertain. Small changes that are ready for nurture and care. Can you identify where you sense new life stirring in your journey, however quietly it may be emerging? Watch as the stem strengthens and the leaves unfurl. Growth takes its own time, requiring both effort and rest. Consider now how you might honor your own unique pace of becoming, a pace that doesn't rush or lead you to self-judgment. See the bud forming, holding tomorrow's beauty in tight embrace. This is us carrying all of our gifts that we have not yet fully revealed. Can you reflect on what you are becoming and you cannot yet fully see or understand? And now we see the glorious blooms opening to the sun. Even in full flower form, the sunflower continues growing, following light through each day. Perhaps this is a reminder to us to call upon ourselves to keep turning toward the things that nurture and sustain us. Can you think of anything that nurtures and sustains your spirit? As seasons pass, we see now the sunflower completing its cycle, petals wilting away, seeds forming for tomorrow's growth. In this gentle dying, the flower joins the larger web of life, feeding birds, enriching soil, making space for new beginnings. Can you consider what in yourself is ready to be released? Maybe it's old hurts, limiting beliefs, or ways of being that no longer serve you. What in you needs to be released so you can embrace a new beginning? As our time together closes, I invite you to take one more gentle breath, and when you're ready, begin returning your attention to the sanctuary, to this community, or to the comfort of your own home. You may wiggle your fingers and toes, open your eyes when it feels right. Please remember, you are welcomed here in whatever season of growth you find yourself in.
I absolutely love it when one of the songs on my iPhone is played at church, so thank you, Julie. Good morning, I am Linda Russell. I am a member of your Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I look forward to hearing this morning's message. I'm always curious when we take a slice of life situation, like gardening, and bring it into a message about faith and spirituality. Not just an analogy sprinkled in the message, but the analogy is the message. I just think that is uniquely you. I will admit I don't have a particularly green thumb. Actually, my plants thrive more on prayer than water, sadly. So my analogy is connecting sunlight and soil to community and faith. What we do when we give to the church is we supply sustenance to the seeds that are already here in the forms of programs and staffing and our beautiful campus. Without our contributions, we are not able to grow the offerings of this community. So your giving helps to support the MDUUC ecosystem. Think of the programs that we have throughout the week. Something pretty much every day. We are definitely not just a Sunday church. Our ministers and staff plan events and ways for us to engage among ourselves as well as within the community. As churches around the country are struggling, and some are closing, our programming continues to be consistent and our membership is growing. But that does not happen without our contributions to sustain what we have. Be very clear, all of what happens here doesn't just happen. We need volunteers and we need financial support. As we move into a new church year, I want to encourage you to think about what you receive here and what you can give. You are the sun and the soil and the water. You are a part of this ecosystem. Let us grow this community together. The ushers will now come forward. Now, please join me for the dedication of the offering. To the work of this community in transforming ourselves and our world, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Allen, and my pronouns are she and her. I was asked by Rose to speak on gardening as a spiritual practice. I'm sharing my thoughts with you from my happy place, the backyard I share with my family, our dog, and the many creatures who visit, including many of you. Thank you. Some of the creatures who visit I've seen with my eyes. Others I've observed by the ways in which they change my garden. Raccoons I have learned to identify by the way they peel back the grass looking for grubs. Now, I'm not thrilled with the holes in the lawn, but they are responsible for seed dispersal, pest control, and scavenging, planting and cleaning up our blessed earth. I only smelled the skunk, who, to my knowledge, only visited once, as I carried our dog directly into the garage for multiple baths to attempt to remove the smell. Now, that night, I was not thrilled to be dealing with a stinky dog at 10 p.m. But skunks will eat rodents, bugs, and dead creatures. They have a job in this magic of nature. I hear the birds every morning and throughout the day. You may hear them in the background right now. The squawk of the jays, the beating of the woodpecker, the twitter of the quail. To me, this is nature's symphony, the wondrous sounds of the birds, the squirrels, the wind in the trees. It reminds me, as does music, to stop, to breathe, to notice the magic of the greater natural world. It is a reset amidst the overwhelm, the busyness, the frustrations, which are so common in our world today. I'm reminded of the wisdom of James Barras, known to me for his Awakening Joy class, to observe the negative and know that this too shall pass, and to observe the good, for it will change too. And so I observe, listen, and watch for the creatures with whom we get to share this earth and give thanks. Mushrooms. Researchers have recently learned of the amazing communication network of mushrooms, of their ability to help plants who are dying to shift energy to their younger neighbors. This reminds me of those who are dying, sharing loving memories, wisdom, and encouragement to those who they are leaving behind. Mushrooms are also responsible for helping to break down nature's detritus, creating nutritional humus to feed the next generation of plants. We are blessed in this world to have mushrooms, fungus, and molds who do the work of communication, of boosting up others, sharing wisdom and energy, and of cleaning up messes. Thank you to those amazing people who do the hard work every day, cleaning up our world, holding others up, and whispering words of wisdom and love. Life and death. I was grateful to a master gardener for reminding me that plants die, and then you try again. There was a time when I felt like a failure because I couldn't keep a plant alive. I now make different choices and pay much closer attention to what will thrive based on the light, the soil, and the heat. And the water, of course. And I have learned that we all must die. Plants, fellow humans, our furry and feathered friends. The magic and blessings of nature is that we also plant seeds and spread roots. Other creatures plant seeds in our heart, in our wisdom, making our lives richer with their physical presence while we are all alive. And once they have left us, yes, we grieve, and we get the joy and wonder of the blessings of their memories when we most need them. Those little pockets in our hearts for those who have left us laced with sadness also bring me joy with the blessing of their love, their care, and their wisdom. Sharing. I have had multiple friendships build over time because of our shared love of plants and gardening. I'm grateful to get to share my excitement over seeds that have sprouted, tubers that returned, plants that blossom with my plant friends. Recently, I needed to move a large volume of plants and to accommodate a construction project. As a result, I got to move plants around our yard, and I got to share many as well. Some plants went to newer gardeners, encouraging them in their new excitement. Others to friends who were interested in the color of the blossoms or the purpose of the plant for their yard or space. I've also received many plants from fellow gardeners, and seeing them when I walk through my yard inevitably brings a smile to my face. Those ones usually get some extra love that I also send to the giver of the plant. In closing, I am grateful for the gifts of nature that I get to experience in my garden, by observing others' gardens, and by walking through nature. To me, nature's blessings are the gifts of connection, of awe, of observation, of change, of letting go, of community, of cleaning up and watching the magic. Thank you, and may you enjoy the blessings of nature.
Good morning. My name's Sharon Solstice. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I always think I do a better job if I come up here without notes. And I always get up here and think, why the heck did I think that was a good idea? So we'll see how I do. So when Rosa asked me if I was willing to share something about gardening, a lot of thoughts bubbled up. I thought about the magic that is a seed. I thought about the mystery of why a plant can be so bountiful one year and refuse to even set seed the next. I thought about my ongoing negotiations with gophers, ground squirrels, tree squirrels, rats, deers, turkeys, not to mention aphids and powdery mildew. And as I was thinking about these and other ideas, this thought kept creeping in, and it really doesn't have much to do with gardening, but it kept intruding itself into my consideration, so I decided that's the story I need to tell you. For a little background, my garden plot is one of the Howe Homestead community garden plots, which is like right behind me down the hill. And I've had this plot for about 14 years, I think 14, give or take. Now, this past winter, as a number of you know, I was quite sick. Oh, and the reason I'm telling you that my plot isn't Howe Homestead is because the deal with that is that every year by a certain date, which is either late winter or early spring, we have to have our plots cleaned up and the pathways around our plots cleaned up. And if we don't do that, then we lose our plot and it's offered to somebody who's on a waiting list. So this last winter when I was sick, I found myself bedbound from early February well into March. And I had no idea how long that was going to last or what my recuperation would be like. And I had a lot of sadness around losing my garden plot. And then I had a revelation. I could ask for help. Now, that's something I don't do. I have, on various occasions, counseled friends and colleagues, ask for help. There's no downside. You get help, and then you can move forward, or you don't get help, and you're no worse off than if you had never asked. So ask for help. But while my mind knew that was good advice, my gut knew I would never take it. Unless it were a dire circumstance, and this was a dire circumstance. So when it occurred to me that I could ask for help, I reached out to Leslie Baxter because she's a friend who knows all about the community gardens, and I asked her if she would coordinate the activities of volunteers who might help me with my garden problem. I reached out to Reverend Leslie and asked her if the church community could help me. She, in turn, reached out to Rose, who was aware of people that had expressed interest in the Peace Garden and might therefore be willing to help in my garden. And I sent mail to some of my friends in the community, people who I thought of, who I perceived to be younger and able-bodied and able to do this kind of work. And a miracle happened. That one Sunday, I don't know which Sunday, but one Sunday in February, my garden turned into the best it has ever looked in all the years I've had it. These volunteers did an amazing job. I don't know still to this day who all of them were. I know who some of you were. But Rose took some photographs and shared them with me. But I'll tell you, I don't know most of you well enough to know who you are from this angle. So, in closing, I think about Reverend Leslie when she's talking about the minister's defense fund, the minister's discretionary fund. And she's just reminding us that help is available if you need it. And she usually closes it with something along the lines of, asking is a gift you give to the community. And while intellectually I got it, I don't think in my gut I ever really understood it. But I realize now that offering help and asking for help are very different skill sets. And I think that having both of those skill sets helps us to participate more fully in our communities. And I would like to express my gratitude for helping me develop. The offering to help part came easily, but the asking for help part was hard, and I thank you for giving me that growth opportunity.
Good morning. I'm Mary Ann Bonner, and I have my notes. I come from a long line of avid gardeners. My grandmother loved gardening, and my mother and my older sister inherited her green thumb. Now, my own interest in gardening took a long time to develop. As a kid, gardening meant being dragged outside on a Saturday afternoon by my dad to pull weeds. Not my idea of fun. And equally dull were trips to the nursery with my parents. Who wants to look at a bunch of boring plants? I did practically no gardening until I bought a house in the early 90s. And in the 12 years that I lived there, I focused mainly on maintaining what was there, pruning the bushes, mowing the lawn, and dealing with the crabgrass. And I didn't do any serious gardening until my husband Norm and I bought our house in Walnut Creek in 2004. And the house itself motivated me to take up gardening. The house has lots of glass, including big windows that look out over the backyard. So I started experimenting. I would go to the nursery and buy some plants I wasn't familiar with and try them out. And I also grew some plants from seed. And one of the biggest obstacles I had were the hordes of deer that roamed around our yard day and night, eating everything in sight, including those deer-resistant plants I bought at the nursery. Well, my life as a would-be gardener got a lot easier in 2018 when we finally put up a deer fence. When Norm and I bought our house, large swaths of our backyard were just wood chips. And for a long time, we talked about replacing those wood chip areas with flower beds, but it seemed like a Herculean task. So in 2023, we finally got motivated to overhaul the backyard. It only took us 18 years, but we finally got around to it. We replaced all the paving, we put in new flower beds, and we redesigned and replanted all of the existing ones. It was a major task. And now, after 2 years, our garden is still a work in progress. And while we're happy with the results so far, our experience has reinforced something that I always suspected all along. Gardening is a crapshoot. When you put a plant in the ground, it might grow to the size it says on the label. It might get 3 times that size, or it might curl up and die for no apparent reason. You know, once you accept the fact that plants are going to do what they're going to do and not necessarily what you want them to do, gardening can be very rewarding. There are several aspects of gardening that allow me to connect with my spiritual side. Well, for one thing, when I'm out in my garden and the bees are buzzing and the birds are singing and the lizards are running around, I feel connected to the natural world. I feel like I'm connected to something bigger than myself. Gardening is also an exercise in mindfulness. It forces me to focus on the task at hand and helps quell some of the inner chatter. Gardening is physical exercise, and for me, that's relaxing. And finally, gardening gives me a sense of purpose and accomplishment. I love sitting on my deck, looking around, watching the bees darting from flower to flower, and looking at the birds splashing in the bird bath. And I have to say that it's very satisfying to see a hummingbird feeding on that agastache plant that I grew from seed. Gardening allows me to give something to the natural world and to gain so much more in return.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Brown. My pronouns are he and him, and that's a lot to follow up on. But while preparing myself for this reflection, I took a moment to ask Google to define spirituality to me. And she came up with the response that spirituality is a broad concept encompassing an individual's search for meaning, purpose, and connection to something larger than themselves, often involving a sense of transcendence or the sacred. It's not necessarily tied to religious affiliation and can be expressed through various avenues, including nature, art, relationships, or personal reflection. Essentially, spirituality is about finding a sense of wholeness, purpose, and connection with oneself and the world. This provided me with a bit of confirmation bias. That meaning of spirituality matched the meaning I hold inside. And indeed, there is much about gardening that does make one a part of something larger than oneself. This means that gardening can be an opportunity for spiritual growth. When the community garden started up this year, I was excited to be a part of a community that would garden. While right now I am at home limited to container gardening and houseplants, I have had some pretty big gardens in the past in the ground. Every house I've lived in and had ended up with various plantings placed around the property for various purposes. In 2014, I took a seasonal job in a nursery for minimum wage. I don't know if I broke even with the company or not for how much I spent on various plants and gardening supplies, but at the end of the selling season, I made out like a bandit with the various plants I was allowed to take home that would have otherwise just been thrown away. What a waste. That year, I had a plot about 20 by 50 feet to play with and no shortage of plants to place there. That garden got me out in the mud and the sun and the shade every day for the summer. pulling weeds, adjusting water flows, feeding the plants that I escaped into during an otherwise rough times in the home. Feeling that cool mud on the skin of my hands and legs, something I have since learned can be referred to as earthing, was a welcome comfort in a frequently tumultuous experience. I enjoy scratching out a plant in the dirt, laying out which little beasties will be sprouted where, how they will be nourished, watered, and tended, which plants are complementary and which ones simply won't get along very well or grow together well. While I prefer to work with starts and plants, sometimes just planting and tending seeds is rewarding in its own right. I should mention that I am not a fan of eating raw tomatoes. Last year's harvest aside, there wasn't one. I have in the past had great success at growing tomatoes. It was always a joy to see the family snacking on and enjoying the fruits of this labor, even if the fruit wasn't something I personally enjoyed. While I attempted a tomato grow last year, that plan was foiled by the heat and the roofers who covered the plants in a tarp to protect the plants they were working on, while they were working on the roof. With the park manager also complaining that I was growing vegetables in the front of the home, flowers only, I decided not to attempt to grow at home this year. And so I had high hopes on our community garden being a venue for these two sources of joy, both gardening and the community. Now, the community garden, the harvest this year, appears to have mostly gone to the wildlife. And I don't mind sharing, but it would be nice to have something back in return for the efforts. And it really isn't, even though the wildlife has been out there, I couldn't help but notice in the last couple of few weeks there's a new fawn running around with the doe. And I really don't mind if that pregnant doe needed a little extra nourishment to bring that fawn forward. The community garden offers us something unique spiritually. While I have built and maintained watering systems for my own gardens and properties, I have not done so for a community venture. Figuring out how to communicate those ideas into actionable plans has been a personal challenge and one that I would benefit from overcoming. Building a system for a community takes input from stakeholders, written plans, maybe even some pictures or drawings. Getting what I see in my mind's eye to an actionable proposal has proved more challenging to me than I had imagined. It hasn't happened yet, and I could use some help with planning that out, communicating. I also believe in the reward that overcoming the challenge could be bountiful. Bountiful in terms of produce like tomatoes and tomatillos and beans, bountiful in terms of personal reward for the individuals involved, and bountiful in terms of building community. Turning ideas into community action for a mutual benefit through a community garden feels like an opportunity for spiritual growth. While it seems like a call to action would be in order, this is just a reflection. I'd be happy to share ideas and seek input from anybody interested in building up our community garden. If you haven't been down there recently, it really could use some TLC from many of us, but it's not just one person's vision, and it's a matter of working together. So yeah, that's what I got.
And now, please rise in body or spirit to sing our closing song, For All That Is Our Life. These words from British Unitarian Bruce Findlow were shared with a California rock musician named Patrick Rickey. Within 24 hours, this hymn was born. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs with others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we
And I will close us with these words by Norman V. Naylor. Our eyes and minds turn now toward the ordinary, leaving this space made sacred by our presence. Take with you at least some seed of understanding, hope, and courage, and drop it into the confusion of the world. Nourish the seed that it might grow as a tree of life-giving shelter to the weary and hope to the despairing. Be yourself a branch of the tree of life. Blessed be.